Why am I always being described as screaming?
Because you yell all the time.
Every Caribbean person can relate to this statement.
I didn't mean to generalize.
It's like
you as a Jamaican at top volume are like emphasizing the regular conversation. When parents are very emotional and dramatic, what they don't realize is a lot of the time their kids, their natural instinct will be to protect and to heal and to make them feel better. But if you always go to your child with an emotional problem and you expect them to feel the responsibility of making you as the adult feel better, that really starts setting a bad trend in the child.
So why did you become a psychologist? Doc, why are we here today? You look beautiful in that red dress.
Thank you.
Fire.
Oh my gosh, red's my color. I passed it on to Dr. Kelly. This is like our power pose outfit. Whenever we're like nervous, we need to conjure up confidence. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about why I became a psychologist. And that topic alone, for those who know me, brings on a little anxiety. So introducing the metronome, which is a tool that I use for my clients just to build awareness to their unconscious kind of like rhythm, which is like their anxiety that builds up. So we first model how our breathing and our heart rate feel in our mind, how fast it's racing and how fast the thoughts are going. Typically, it starts like this.
And guys, this is not a paid promotion. Paid promotions are coming soon.
Anyway,
Yeah, but
ETA to be determined. Okay.
Yeah, so go
Ready?
ahead.
So this is often how people feel whenever they're feeling really anxious or
So
stressed.
hold on, is this a brand or is it like name of, this is what it's called, the metronome?
The design of the like timekeeping entity that it is called a metronome. But no, there's many companies that make different types of
Metronome, not
metronomes.
metrodome.
Metronome.
Metronome, got it. All right, perfect. Let's do it.
So this is typically how we feel whenever we're stress induced. Do you see in a way how your heart rate is almost trying to
Yeah, you're making me
emulate?
anxious. Put it down.
Isn't it weird though how your body, mind, and heart is almost in a way trying to like match that rhythm?
Yeah.
And when I'm really anxious, my thoughts end up feeling like, and I'm thinking like this. And this is pretty much my jive whenever I'm really stressed out or really anxious, but therapy can be such a beautiful tool to say, hey, wherever I am, when I'm feeling this and I can identify this rhythm, with a few tools, I can get here.
That's legit.
Now match your breath.
Oh, Jesus.
See?
Much more coming out.
See?
Oh my God.
How crazy is that? Tiny environmental cue can tell our animalistic brain to slow down.
That's
The higher you go, the slower it is. I can't get that relaxed.
well.
That's like our monk friends.
Yeah,
I can't get that relaxed. But yes, so that is the most slow pace.
You can. It just, it's very, you have to be very mindful.
That's like after massage and other things.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
I
cool.
wanted to get at least myself to this state because now that I feel in a state of calm and I brought awareness to my body.
Was this just an Amazon purchase or?
It was.
Okay.
It was, but you can get your own metronome. So my fellow occupational therapist, whom I love so much and is a part of my clinic, they actually
She'll be on too, by the way.
She will be.
Yeah.
She kind of brought this to my attention that in occupational therapy, many times, and also in speech therapy, they will introduce this tool as different ways to have reciprocity in conversation, to be able to wait our turn, and also be able to control our impulses. And honestly, even the rate that we speak. So it's a tool, but I like using it as a mental health professional just to start a session with my clients. I feel like they come in with a lot of like energy and fear to be like, this is where you are and this is where we need to be for our convo. And they're like, wow, I had no idea I was this riled up. It's just an awareness tool. So welcome.
So that's perfect segue into this topic as to why you became a psychologist, psychology in general.
Why I was like attracted to psychology in general, then why I became a psychologist, because it's different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So why did you become a psychologist?
I have a very significant, on a serious note, I have a very significant family history of mental illness, including suicide, depression, addiction, anxiety, and personality disorders. and PTSD. So that, thank goodness, is one side of my family. So I feel like they almost like distill it down a bit for me to be more at risk for certain things. But growing up and being exposed to that, I actively recall many years of my life asking why. So it's kind of interesting how we land all the way here at the Dr. Y show. It's all connected. But very frequently I would say, why is that person acting that way? Why did that person respond that way? Why is that the conclusion that happened from that problem? And I didn't understand.
Why is my kid doing this?
Yeah. So honestly, it was my family history.
Anybody in particular?
My mother's side of the family is the most severe. However, I would say the person who had the most direct impact on me directly was probably my mother. She is significantly plagued by mental illness. So the clinical part of me, here's the paradigm that's really hard to deal with. The professional doctor in me with the training empathizes with her, and I get it, and I understand, and I have empathy, and support her on that journey. And you utilize my and statement. I have to also respect the person I am in conjunction with being a psychologist or not, and say that I need to set healthy boundaries for me to be safe and for me to be a healthy mother, entrepreneur, and wife and friend. And that includes keeping a boundary away from her. But it in no means represents anger, resentment, or like any kind of like grudge. Because people in my family think because I set boundaries and I don't want her in my life or my child's life for health reasons, they think that's because I haven't forgiven her or I'm still angry. And I feel like they're grossly mistaken. And that to me gets really frustrating. Because I'm like, I don't need to let anything go. I have let go. Like, I wish the best. I pray. I hope. I want that. But I just don't want it in my life because it was so toxic and I barely survived it.
Definitely still emotionally connected because I can see and feel your energy.
But not in a way of trauma, to be honest. I was there for many years. We've been together for the most of it. And you know me, like things would happen and I'd be hysterically crying.
I always just say to her, I'm like, why don't you just chill, be okay? It's your mom. Like, and over the years of learning who her mom was, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Well, that's BPD, right? So borderline personality disorder.
She hasn't been officially diagnosed, right? But you're officially diagnosing her, you would say?
Kind of like in passing. She's been diagnosed with when I was like old enough, like in my adolescence, to remember when we went to counseling as a family, yes. But nothing on paper I've seen. But I bet my entire license on it that, yeah, I think she struggles with BPD. She meets the clinical profile and of borderline personality disorder with narcissistic traits. And then she also suffers with addiction, which a lot of my family members do.
What is borderline personality disorder?
It's complicated. So being a personality disorder, what that means is that the pattern of behavior or the way in which they perceive themselves in the world or in the way that they perceive the world interpreting them, it's been kind of in development. Those patterns have becoming solidified over their lifespan. So it becomes more concrete. So if you think about a kid and being like a wet clay ball, they're still malleable to change. So you get patterns of their temperament, their personality, but life events and other people and what they experience can change the way their personality ends up finally solidifying. Personality disorder typically is not diagnosed until you're after 18 for that exact reason. Because they're saying you have so much variability to change, but until you hit around 18-ish, right? Let's be serious, longer than that. Then those patterns, if they've kind of been consistently the pattern, now you have your personality, who you are, is categorized by this. And there's unhealthy traits and healthy traits. So personality disorder obviously means that your personality lends many impairments in many different domains of your life. So it's not adaptive. It's not working for you well. You might not maintain good friendships, good romantic relationships, keep a job, be able to go get an education and run a household. When you have these different domains suffering because of your own personal decisions with people, now it's a disorder. You're sad, you're frustrated because you're not getting what you want, because you're navigating the world incorrectly based on its rules. So her set of issues in her past fit that diagnosis. And unfortunately, it means that for BPD in particular, there's this grave emptiness that a lot of those individuals experience where they feel so insecure and left out, and their sense of identity has not been solidified, where they will adapt and conform to anyone that they're talking to get that attention and recognition, because they're so like empty in that way, that they feel like they don't know who they are to this world, and they want all the attention and recognition they can get. And it's really sad because they never really are confident that this is who I am and this is what I give to the world. They don't know.
And I'm sure a lot of people can know a few people like that have, based on your description just now, can say, oh, yep, Johnny is that one.
Fair, hence seek a psychologist for yourself or your friend or peer or whatever, because thank you for that, because you're right. Like at face value, many people can meet that definition.
Yes,
so
correct.
a psychologist and a psychological evaluation help decipher and rule out with a preponderance of data, like the themes. You can't just have somebody come to you and be like, she's selfish, never likes to be alone, and she threatens me when she's alone. Like, and that's like every Karen anyway. So go see a psychologist if you're really concerned.
Nothing against Karens, but yeah.
I don't know, man. They really bother me. I want your manager. You can't handle it.
Have you already separated from that childhood, I would say, experience? Because I'm not going to necessarily say trauma, because it propelled you to be who you are today, but also as an adult. Or is there still some form of maybe some regret, or you still think about it?
It's so funny, because if you were to ask me this question 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it's crazy how my response would change. I think as a psychologist with introspection, I feel like I've finally come to the place where I'm going to stay at this level of acceptance, because I don't really know what's after that for enlightenment. Because right now I'm at a place of peace. So I don't think I'm going to change if you were to ask me now in 10, 20 years. But oh my gosh, the last 20, if you were to ask me, I was going through so many transitions where I was in denial, I was angry, I was depressed, I was resentful, I was bitter, I played victim. Like, I went through the gamut.
Well, Dr. Young went through all that. We're normal human beings. We can go through it. She's not perfect. Absolutely normal, but go ahead. Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
well
I'm
done.
not perfect. I'm flawed. I am. But my point is, now you asking me this, I'd be like, I'm at perfect peace, and I'm almost in a weird way grateful, which you would have not heard from me 20 years ago.
It propelled you to be who you are today.
It did. And it gives me this very unique outlook on life. And I feel so grateful to have that. I'm not saying I'm unique in any ways where other people don't have that outlook or that perspective, but I feel like a lot don't get that opportunity to look at the world that I do. And I feel just very humbled that I get to live this life, being able to appreciate what I get to experience before my time is up. And I do feel like a lot of that is based on my childhood. And when you come from a place of darkness, you come to appreciate the light so much more.
So how's your relationship right now?
I haven't spoken to her in a little bit. We kind of go on a back and forth of reaching out to each other. She hasn't met her son, as you know, right? And he's almost 2. So it's at least been 2 years since we've seen each other face to face. And I'm not against it at all. Honestly, I really want to arrange a time for us to get together. I really don't have any animosity towards that. I just don't want an active relationship.
Yeah, she's called and left voicemails a few times.
For you too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing is, though, every time...
And what's crazy is that I used to be the one that she used to come to for me to level with Lauryn. And then after 5, 6, 7 years, I'm like, okay, all right, now, Lauryn, I understand where you're coming from. And that's the reason why Lauryn has rebelled all her life, because nobody ever listened to them. Again, going back to what I said initially, why do you have to be so bitter?
Because they're good actors and actresses. Again, no fault to mental illness.
Yeah.
I don't want to come across like I'm being petty that way. But that disorder in particular, they're very good at being like, who do you want me to be? And they're a chameleon. And I do catch traits of that in me sometimes. I am very good at navigating people in a room for a reason. Not that I'm going to change my values.
Good psychologist.
No, but that's what I'm saying. She gave me some traits to be a good psychologist.
Got it.
I have to change me to be everybody's person.
Yeah.
That's work. A lot of people are like, this is my view, my personality. I come to the table and you deal with it. And if you don't get along, we don't get along. I come to the table like, how am I going to mesh to make you feel the most comfortable possible? That's a skill.
Relatable.
However, the only difference I think is people with BPD though, they're doing it to be liked or loved or appreciated, and they don't know who they are. I'm very much aware when I'm trying to level with somebody and trying to make somebody comfortable, but I'm still gonna have my hard and fast boundaries on important topics, but I will give in to others to make them comfortable. So there's a little bit of a difference there.
So how do you think that journey or current journey is going to affect you as a parent?
Very much so.
How?
I mean, right now, I feel like
Well, I think you answered a different question. It's going to affect you as a parent.
No,
but,
it does now.
Yeah, but how is it going to affect you? What are you going to do differently? Do you feel like you're a little bit more overcompensating because of, the experiences that you never want to be that, you want to be that perfect mom in a way, and sometimes a little bit excessive is okay, all right, let's do this.
Fair. Yeah. Fair. I would think, okay, but I don't think that's all. I don't think we can contribute it all to my mom, though.
Okay.
I think my mom has contributed to me, not as significant as you think. I think I'm just more mindful of what is, I don't know, how do I explain it? What do I want to leave my child with? What is going to be the thing that they are left with in that conversation that's going to resonate with them to be good or bad? So I am more mindful of how they interpret me because I'm so acutely aware of how I watched my mom even as a kid and thought things. So when my children come to me, I'm very acutely aware of this is the way I want to present myself in this situation, hence why I get frustrated with you when you're screaming at them and I'm and we can tone it down 3 decimals. We can have the same message. I know they're going to remember it.
Why am I always being described as screaming?
Because you yell all the time. You do. I yell too, but very rare.
I talk very loudly and expressively.
Yeah, but you're Jamaican. It sounds like yelling. I mean, by default, it sounds like yelling. I'm sorry.
That every Caribbean person can relate to this statement.
I didn't mean to generalize. You as a Jamaican at talk volume are emphasizing the regular conversation.
Well, we're not being racial here at all, right?
I said you. Not every Jamaican.
Oh, my God.
You and some of your family members, some.
Okay. We talk very loudly.
I literally am why are you yelling at each other? What happened? Are you mad? And you're we're just talking. Yeah. I'm what? I thought you were mad at each other. Anyway. So, back to that. My mother has emphasized that I'm very mindful of my moment-to-moment interactions because I know my kids will remember it. So I try to keep as calm because I remember my mom being very dramatic and making. So here's another BPD thing. When parents are very emotional and dramatic, what they don't realize is a lot of time their kids, their natural instinct will be to protect and to heal and to make them feel better. But if you always go to your child with an emotional problem and you expect them to feel the responsibility of making you as the adult feel better, that really starts setting a bad trend in the child of where they may, as an adult, seek out relationships. They're always taking care of somebody. So much of the parent-child relationship, as Freudian as it sounds, impacts the future dating relationship spouse that your child seeks because that's all that they know with that relationship. It's all they've seen on a daily basis. So how you and I treat each other, they're watching, and their brain is recording, and also how we treat them. They're recording. So if you have a child, we're always the woman's crying and the mom's oh, and the child's I'll get you water, or no, dad, no, mom, those are the relationships they'll seek out as adults. So I'm very mindful of that, long story short. The second way that I treat my kids differently, I think, is because I suffer with I experience anxiety. I'll say that. I experience anxiety, predisposed anxiety, plus my life is I choose it to be stressful. I choose it.
Again, going back to...
But I choose it.
Again, going back to, as a doctor, she's expressing, she's feeling anxious sometimes. It's completely...
I'll fully disclose.
Yeah,
so, I know a lot of parents don't like this, and I'll put myself out there. I fully disclose that I do take medication now for anxiety. And I've not been, typically a person who is the advocate for medication. I do respect that medication exists to solve many issues, and it serves a purpose. I just don't like the idea of medication being served out as the first area of intervention without exploring other root causes and interventions personally. For me, I feel like I have explored and I've managed my anxiety for 30 plus years of my life. And I also feel humbled enough to say I knew when I had to say, listen, I got to tap out. I can't cope with this anymore on my own. So I went on medication to help with the rest of the anxiety. And it was a game changer for me. And it made my quality of life 1,000% better. And do I want to wean off it in the future? Yeah, possibly. I have no problem. But do I also have a problem being on it? No. Because I don't think I could be who I am on it and be a good parent and wife and business owner if I wasn't on it right now. Because it helps me push to the next level. So I have no shame admitting it, but I also don't like encourage it either, if that makes sense.
So, well, of course, medication isn't bad. There's a reason why there is medication. But again, as you mentioned, you have to explore the homeopathic way of doing things first before we go to the medication.
And that sufficed for many years. Many years. You know, like tea, massage, mindfulness, all stuff that I teach, 1,000%.
Would you consider it a Band-Aid?
Interesting. Okay, so this is where it gets annoying with psychology because it's never like a black or white answer. You're going to hear me say a lot that it depends. So I would say...
Oh, I hear that a lot.
I know. Because it's not a perfect science.
Answer me straight, please.
It's not a perfect science.
Go ahead. Not a perfect...
I wish I had a blood test to be like, it's negative. Like, that'd be so nice.
That's fair.
To have a perfect science like that. Can you imagine you're not positive for melanocytosis?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like my own brain and ChatGPT that's trying to figure it out. So, like, is it a Band-Aid is your question. I would say it depends on the person and circumstance. So some people are innately more, they experience more depressive symptoms. We call it old school dysthymia, which basically is like people are just kind of like Eeyore from like Winnie the Pooh, kind of like just down all the time. Everybody probably knows me like that.
Like you're from California?
Yeah, glasses half full, just meh. You know, those like types of people. Like if you have that personality and then something bad happens, then they don't have the natural coping skills. Yeah, you go on medication, like you're not fixing the root cause, it is a Band-Aid. But if you then have a person who is like very well adapted, has really good coping skills, is pretty much good at navigating, but then maybe like their parent dies and they just can't get out of bed in the morning, like that's a different type of Band-Aid. It's not that I respect any differently, but like one is like, I don't want to work on myself, so I'm going to do meds, versus the other one's like, I'm good, but I'm going through a really crappy thing and I need help, but I'm not going to last on it because I innately have good skills. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think if you're willing to do the work and be like, how do I help myself and fix myself, and then meds is going to get me through a hard time, versus like, oh, well, I don't want to explore my early childhood. I don't want to go to therapy. I'm going to go on meds. That's totally different than you find that your mom dies.
Because then...
It depends.
Because then that's a Band-Aid.
It's different. You cannot one size fits all any of this stuff.
So your career today, would you choose a different career, or you're loving psychology?
No, I wouldn't. I would not. I'm so lucky I found this.
So talk about that a little bit.
Like the field?
The path, the path, the field. What do you get from it right now? What is, taught you in your... So
the path was, I'd probably say my mother on her side of the family was the path because of the erratic behavior and like everybody suffers with something. And then also I kind of experienced some of my own things as an early child, like anxiety and depression I had to navigate. And then also making a series of very questionable decisions while I was exploring my life. All right, okay, let's be serious. That informed my path. And then... unfortunately, I was...
My eyes were open, by the way.
Anyway.
Just audio.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so I was... how do I say this? I was surviving a lot of trauma in my house, like things we don't need to talk about today. I was surviving a lot of trauma in my house in middle school and high school. I was not the best person in response to that. I was very much trying to do, I guess, my subconscious doing whatever I could do just to survive another day. And I really at any moment could have made a bad turn. It wasn't until college that the light bulb clicked on. And I think it's because I always was an intellectual thinker and I was always curious that way. I think it was still me, but it was me in a survival state. And I talk about this a lot with my dad, because Dad and I recently have talked about how like we want to explore our relationship now outside of the home with my mom. Because both of us only really got to know each other when both of us were surviving a survival state. When really we're not the best versions of us. It was a conversation we've had recently.
Whoa, deep.
No, really, it was very deep. But it goes to my point of like, it's a different me now than it was before. So like, I didn't prioritize my grades. I didn't worry on, like if you were to look at me, like people in these private schools would be like, oh my gosh, you're like a loser. And you'd be like, you have no idea that I'm actually like, I'm really good at what I do. Because I was in a survival state. So everything else didn't matter. I just had to like make it to the next day. And then in college, it finally clicked. And I was in my Psych 101 class, and everything came together. Like, it explained my world in like a class. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. I want to help people that don't understand, because now I understand. And that moment that clicked, I went to tutoring. I did everything. And then I became a straight A student. I was loving it. I was in research labs. I was publishing. I was volunteering my time. I was into research and learning all about research and the quality of that and the statistics and all that. And it just like one thing kind of just like catapulted into the next thing. And I remember people like in my back, my previous life in my family being like, what is this? And I'm like, no, this was always here. It was being pushed down, but I was always here. And I feel like I have to always work harder to battle that reputation of being a bad kid or a troubled child, because people always see you in that snapshot of who they knew you as. And it's very hard for them to replace that idea of you with your current self.
So is that the image of the psychologist today?
For what? Me?
Yeah. People who see you now are like, whoa.
I'm a 360 of who I was when I was 15. 360. I mean, my core values remained, but everything on the outside was a child trying to survive and selfishly hurt people along the way to do so. Totally. And now when I work in schools and I work in juvenile justice and in inpatient hospitals, and I see those kids that are aggressive and bullying other kids and putting other people down and trying to get the most control as possible, and they won't ever relent, and they have this huge traumatic history, like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I see you. You're not a bad person.
And that's the reason why so for you guys that don't know, I answer the phones of Young Mind Psychology. That's, Lauryn's business, our business. And, I'm always telling families, Mom, Dad, Doc is going to be able to relate. Don't worry. She's going to be able to relate. She's fired. She plays video games. She's been. But I also
that's my Witcher poster over there.
I can't.
My gaming room.
I can't explain to them that, she had a past, and just like what you're explaining to me right now, trust me, she's been there, done that. But I could tell them, like, we're gonna be able to relate. Don't worry, trust us. So, that was phenomenal. And it's crazy. You're tearing up a little bit.
I am, in a good way. I like talking about it, and I like sharing it. It's emotional. There's no shame in that. I will never discourage that emotional expression. But I haven't really talked about it in this kind of capacity with a lot of people, and I'm talking about, and you have to be very vulnerable. So you have to model what you want for your kids, and I'm being vulnerable and sharing things that are emotional to me, and there's no shame in that.
And it's normal. It's absolutely normal. And, we tell families all the time, they're like, don't blame yourself. Like, it happens to the best of us. So that was one of the P's, psychology, why you became a psychologist.
Oh, that's a long segment.
Yeah, well, why you became a psychologist, the path of psychology, your grad school, the publishing, the whole 9 yards. We're going to get deeper into that, down into the episodes. And the next one we're going to talk about is partnership. Like, subscribe, comments.
Share. Hashtag, that's all I got.
A hashtag.
We have to actually memorize these.
What's the
hashtag.
The number set? Oh, the hashtag. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a hashtag.
Anyways.
Share, comment, like. Hashtag, I don't know.
Until the next one.
Bye.